the girth measurement, first is the chest. So as you can see, chest is 33. And the next one is the right upper arm. So right upper arm 10. The next is right forearm. So right forearm is 8. Next is the waist. So waist is 27. Next is the hips. So hips is 31. Next is right thigh. So right thigh is 21. And the last one is right calf. So right calf is 815. So for the waist and hip ratio, waist is 27, hip is 31 is equals to 0.8709. So hello everyone, we will be having a dynamic and postural assessment. So first is the static postural assessment. So let's begin. But first, we will be needing a partner. So your partner serve as your evaluator or a checker. So let's begin for the lateral view static postural assessment. And based on observation, the client's head is bent forward, so I'm going to put check mark on the right box. Next, we'll have shoulder. Shoulder expected movement observation protracted or retracted. So what do you mean by protracted? Protracted means client has a round shoulder. Retracted is the opposite. So the client's case is retracted. Next, we'll have lumbopelvic hip. When you say anteriorly tilted, meaning when your pelvis is rotated forward, and the posteriorly tilted is where the front of the pelvis tilts up and back. And it's very obvious the client's lumbopelvic hip is anteriorly pelvis tilt. So I'm gonna put a check mark both left and right. Let's move to the anterior view static postural assessment. So we'll have knees first. We'll try to see if there's movement observation whether the client's abducted or adducted knees. So when you say abducted, meaning moving away from the midline of your body, and adductive is the opposite. If you have observed, try to look at the knees of the client, it's abducted because it's away from the midline of your body and it is externally rotated. And so for the feet is not flat, but it's externally rotated. So let's move on to dynamic postural assessment. First is the anterior, the kinetic chain, checkpoints, feet, and knees. So as you can see, the client's feet is turns out and the knees is moves outward. So can you perform? So as you observe, it's moves outward and the feet is turns out. Next, we'll have the lateral view and the kinetic chain checkpoints are lumbopelvic hip and shoulder. Lumbopelvic hip is expected movements are excessive forward lean, low back arches, and low back rounds. As you can see, the client's lumbopelvic hip is low back arches both left and right. The shoulders are not fall forward, so disregard the form, leave it blank. This time we'll have last view, the posterior view, and the kinetic chain checkpoint. First, feet. The client's feet is flattened because the foot is not raised while performing the overhead squats. For lumbopelvic hip is not a symmetrical weight shift, so disregard. And the shoulder is elevated both left and right. So that's all guys. Thank you.